Hey guys, it's Alpha, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to create a FiveM server in 2022. The reason I'm making a new tutorial is not that my other ones are outdated, they still work, it's just that there are now more methods of creating a FiveM server. So I decided I'm going to create like a complete guide. It shows every method, so you can like watch through it and decide which method works best for you, because they, not only are there different methods, but also you can use different ones for different purposes basically. So there are four main methods. I'll be going through them all and I'll be explaining the reasons behind you'd want to do each one and showing how to do each of them coming up. So the first method is having a server hosted for you by Zap-Hosting. If you aren't aware, Zap-Hosting is the only company that's licensed to host FiveM game servers. So they're very popular, especially for FiveM. So basically, if you're looking for a server that's up 24/7 and it doesn't have to run on your computer, you should consider Zap-Hosting. They've got built-in DDoS protection and 24-hour customer support. They offer every other method of FiveM server with just one click. So basically, all the other methods that I'm going to be showing later on in the video, you can just use all of them through Zap-Hosting just by selecting that method, basically. You can also use my sponsorship code Alpha for a permanent 20% discount on your server. This can only be redeemed once per account, so if you wish to reuse it, you've got to like make a new Zap-Hosting account basically. I do have another video dedicated to explaining this, but I'm going to be showing it in this one anyway. But I also have that old video linked in the description. So what you need to do is go to zaphosting.com/alpha, and it takes you to this webpage just here. And this will automatically have everything set up and chosen for you, so it's got FiveM ready. So basically what I meant by having an option to choose any other method is you can go to this pre-installed game just here, and this is you've got every type of FiveM server available, including more than just the three methods that I'm going to be showing. So we've got Windows, Linux, we've even got Rage MP if you don't want to do FiveM. We've got loads of other options. We've even got like a pre-installed ESX roleplay server. If you don't know what ESX is, it's basically a framework that allows you to have jobs, economy, prison, crime, all of that. That's basically what ESX is. You've probably played on it before, or QB Core if you're more interested in that. It's basically the newer version of ESX. So you can choose whichever you'd like, and then here it goes. It gives a little rundown on the three main ones basically. And then you've got loads of options, such as where you'd like the server to be hosted. If you're based in Europe, I would choose Germany because that's quite central in Europe, and it's where they offer the best services basically, because this company is based in Germany. You've got American, Australian, and Asian options available as well. And in here we've got the game server slots. So this is how many people you can have the playing the server at any given time. Obviously, if you're planning on making a larger server, you can up this count to as many as you need. I'm just going to keep it at 10 for now. And then also you've got RAM boost. So RAM is random access memory. It's basically helps the server perform better, especially with more players and more resources. My general rule of thumb is for every 10 more slots that you add an extra gigabyte of RAM. So if you're adding 30 slots, then do 3 gigs of RAM. And then if you want to go down to the next options, we've got CPU and host server. This is basically the general hardware that the server runs on. So you can go standard or premium, which is just better hardware basically. So if you are running a larger server, I definitely recommend going for that. And then you've got your own IPv4 address. If, for example, you've got multiple things like a TeamSpeak server and a website all running off of the same IPv4, and then what you can do is select that. And then we've got the DDoS overview. Basically, if you think that you're going to be under attack from DDoS attacks, then you can get access to that. I'd recommend doing it anyway. It's not much more expensive. And then you've got the payment type. This is completely up to you if you want to do a contract or prepaid. And if you want to buy it for like a year, for example, you do get a discount for buying it for a longer time. So if you're planning on having it for a while, go for that. So I'm just going to leave mine at the bare minimum basically. I'm just doing this for example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay with Zap coins because I've just got some Zap coins in my account anyway. So you can go ahead and go to that, apply, all of that, that's fine. And you can go to use voucher, and if you enter the code Alpha like so and press redeem, I've already used it so I can't use it, but if you apply that, it will give you 20% off on the server, and you press buy now, and here we go. So it says payment successful, and then go ahead and wait for it to be created for you. Perfect. So once your server is ready, you can press show product and that will take you to the product page. This is basically a complete overview of your server. Basically, it's got, you know, your location, the status of the server, if it's online or not, your IP and port, so that's what you use to connect to the server. And then you've got everything else. So you've got the amount of players that are currently connected, and you've also got a TxAdmin like interface. TxAdmin is basically, it's a popular utility resource that can help development and also moderation of players. So I do recommend using TxAdmin. You can even monetize your server by going to TxAdmin shop just here. For example, let's say you're going to be selling or you're waiting for donations, selling in-game money. Basically, you can do it all through TxAdmin, which is the partnered company with FiveM for monetizing servers. So this is how you can make money through your server, which is all linked in through Zap-Hosting. It's very useful. You can go to settings on the left. You can, you know, for example, if the server crashes, you can get it to restart automatically. You can change all the ports if you need to. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can. You can go to config. So this is where you config the server, basically. That's server CFG. If you know what that is, it'll be here for you. Here we've got a live console. So this basically shows, you know, the console of the server. It says please open TxAdmin on the browser to configure the server. So basically, if you want to start setting up your server, I can go ahead and go to TxAdmin. I can just click here on this link and I can log in using the login that it's given me. And then this is where you start setting up your server, for example. So press welcome, server name. So this is where you change your server name. I can call mine, for example, Alfa's server. And then this is where you can choose a deployment type. So this is the recipe method, basically. This is the method that I used in my 2021 guide. And it's also what I'll be showing in the second method. So we've got popular recipes or existing server data. So if you've already got like a server on your computer that you want to use, you can do that. A remote template. So if someone else on the internet has made a recipe and you want to use that, you can do that. Or a custom template if you're making your own one. I'd go to popular recipes and you've got the four main ones just here. So you've got the Zap-Hosting pack. This is the one that I recommend using if you're using Zap-Hosting. It's got everything that they recommend. You've got ESX Legacy. So this is basically the basic ESX pack. We've got QB Core, which was updated, is basically the new ESX, and CFX Default, which is basically just a blank server. So I've chosen QB Core because that's the most popular one to use nowadays, and I'm assuming that's what most of you guys will be using as well. Just use the default path that it selects, and then we can press go to recipe deployer, and you don't really need to change anything in here either. This is basically the recipe. Just press next, and you got your license key. This is automatically generated by Zap-Hosting for you. It's very simple. You don't need to do anything yourself, and you can press run recipe. And this is cooking up the server for us. So once the recipe deploy is complete, we can press next. And this is our server.cfg. So you won't really need to change anything straight away. You can just press save and run server. And this is running the server. So this is the TxAdmin interface. You'll be using this a lot if you know what TxAdmin is. And if you don't, I'd recommend getting used to it. It's very useful. Basically everything you will ever need is in here in terms of starting up the server, shutting it down, changing a quick TFG, monitoring your resources. It's all in here. It's very useful. So here we can see the server started up. So I can go ahead and open FiveM and connect to the server. So once we're in FiveM, what we're going to need to do is go to the Zap-Hosting webpage that we were on before, grab the IP address of the server. So now we're in FiveM, we can press F8, type connect and paste the IP like so, and then just press enter. And that will direct connect us to the Zap-Hosting server. As you can see, it's just downloading all the QB resources. And now that we're in, we've got the QB Core character creation screen. So obviously you can create a character, put in all your information. Sure, I was born today. Create a character. So the next method is the method that I showed in my 2021 tutorial. It's the TxAdmin tutorial. So it's the exact same as the one that we just did through Zap-Hosting, although we have to do it all ourselves. So this is the FiveM docs. I'll have this linked in the description. So this shows obviously the 4 guides that I'm covering today. and basically we're going to do this one, the Ultimate Easy Setup Guide, the TxAdmin version. So we can go to the Windows Server build listing, which is basically the page I've already got open. It's the server artifacts. I recommend going for the latest recommended. You could go for latest optional. In this case, it's the same version, but I always recommend going for the recommended. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to our local disk C, and in here we're going to make a folder called FiveM. And then in here, we're going to drag the server zipped file that we've just downloaded. And we're going to right click it and extract here. Wonderful. And then we can delete the zipped server file that we just downloaded. And we've got everything else that we need just here. Next, what we're going to do is in this long list of things, we'll find a pink icon called fxserver.exe. It's an application. And we're just going to go ahead and right click this and run it as an admin. Like so. And then this will just open up a console. It will ask you to allow access, and then it also should open the TxAdmin login. This should automatically fill in. If not, you can open up the console, which it shows, and it will show the pin just here, which you need to input into here, and then you can press link. And it's the exact same process as we followed on Zap-Hosting. It's just that we've now had to do it on our own computer. So we just press welcome, change the server name, so we'll call it Alfa TxAdmin server. Next, and then it's exactly the same as we just showed. So popular recipes, existing data if you've already got a server that you've used before, remote template if it's someone else's recipe, or a custom template if you're making one yourself. I recommend going for popular recipes, and you've got everything you need just here. So I'm just going to go for CFX default in this case. Obviously, if you want to go for a roleplay server, you can do that through these ones just here. I'll just go for CFX default, and I recommend not changing this path once again. And then you press save and go to recipe deployer. Press next. License key. So in this case, the Zap-Hosting, obviously we're not using Zap-Hosting, so it's not going to fill it in itself. So you're going to press this key master just here. I've already got it open, so I'm just going to close that one. And then if you haven't made a FiveM server before, you won't have loads of trash server like I do, but you'll have the 3 active servers available. So what you can do is press register a new server. So a display name, so this isn't like the name of the server, this is, you could name this whatever you want. Obviously I'd recommend putting the same name as the server just so you know what it is. I'll just put Alfa TxAdmin server. I'll just put Alfa home hosted server. Initial server IP address, so this is going to be your public IPv4. The way you can get that is just go onto the internet and say, what's my public IPv4 address? And what you'll need to do is paste your IPv4 address into that bar, and then pick a server type. So in this case, we're going to be going other/home hosted. Because this is a home hosted server. And then server provider, you can just type home hosted. And then you've got to verify that you're not a robot and press generate. And then what you'll have here is the details of your home hosted server. So you can just press copy on your license key and paste that into TxAdmin and press run recipe. And here it's going to open up the server directory for your resources. So we can go back to TxAdmin and press next, and here we've got the server.cfg as per usual, and we can just press save and run recipe. And as you can see, it's just like before. We've got the TxAdmin interface, so we've got all the monitoring resources, and we can even do moderation of players through here once players start connecting to the server. So once these resources just get their first time startup completed, I'll go ahead and connect to the server. So in this case, since it is a local hosted server, we don't actually need to have the IP. You can use the IP still, or you can just press connect, or F8, type connect and type localhost like so. That will work. Or you can go ahead and press this button that shows up whenever you start up your home hosted server. This is basically your computer, and if you press that, it will connect you to the server. It just needs to restart because it's a different server version. We'll just let it do that. So as you can see, we're now connecting to the server, and obviously because we chose the CFX default server, There isn't any like loading screen or anything fancy like that. And here we are. So this is basically just a very bare bones server. The only thing it really has in it, other than the necessary stuff, is TxAdmin. So for example, I believe it's /tx. There you go, and that opens the TxAdmin menu, as you can see just here. It's very useful. Let's say I want to go into God mode or no clip, for example, I can do that. So it's very useful if you need some sort of moderation, admin menus, things like that. It's useful for when you're developing new resources. So if you are going to be doing that, I do recommend using the TxAdmin approach. Now we're going to go on to the third method. Okay, so now we're going on to the third method, which is the Windows Vanilla server method. So if you wish for a completely blank slate server with no TxAdmin and only the bare bones resources, then you should use this method. This is the more complex method for home hosting, but as you must do every step yourself, unlike TxAdmin, which has the recipe deployer. However, it does mean that you do have a completely vanilla server with nothing on it, which can be useful in certain situations. And this is the method I used in my 2020 guide to making a FiveM server, which will be also linked in the server description. So this is the exact same as you do for the Linux vanilla method, which is the fourth and final method. But unfortunately, you know, this one's on Windows as opposed to Linux. So we're just going to go back to the FiveM docs as we've been doing already. And it's the third one, Windows Setup Guide Vanilla. So what we're going to be doing is going to our File Explorer, and we're going to create a folder in here called FiveM. And then what we're going to do is go to the artifact page once again and download the latest recommended. And then we are going to put this latest recommended into the FiveM directory as we did before. Just drag and drop that, and then extract here. Wonderful, and then we can delete the server.zip file that we've just downloaded. And then what we're going to be needing is the CFX server data, which we'll need to clone from the directory just here. So this is a GitHub page. We're just going to press code and download zip. And then we're also going to be putting this inside of the FiveM folder as well. We're going to extract here once again. And then we can delete the CFX server data. And then what we're going to do with this CFX server data folder that's just been extracted, we're just going to rename it so then there's no master. Like so, CFX-server-data. And then inside we've got resources, git ignore, and readme. And then what we're going to do inside of here, in the same directory inside of CFX server data that has the resources folder, we're just going to right click and press new and text document. And we're going to need to rename this to server.cfg, like so. Basically what I'm doing with the .cfg, I'm changing the file name extension, so it's no longer a text document, but it's a CFG file. The way you can have access to change the file name extension is if you go to View and turn on File Name Extensions just here. That will show the dot at the end of the file, basically, and this changes this to a CFG file. And what we're going to do is on step 5 just here it says make a server.cfg and copy the example server.cfg. So we can just click this and it shows an example one. So inside of this embedded box just here, we're just going to copy everything inside of here. Like so. And then we're just going to copy and paste it. I'm going to go ahead and open this with Visual Studio Code. I do recommend using Visual Studio Code. It's very useful for programming. And then we're going to paste the server.cfg, which we've just copied. And then what we're going to need to do is go to the cfx.re keymaster once again. And it's basically just registering a server like we did before. So if you've already done this before on your home hosted server, then you don't need to make a new one. It's the same IP, so it'll be the same key that you use. So display name, I'm just going to do Alfa Windows Vanilla home hosted. And then you get your public IPv4 address. So you can just search up what's my public IPv4 address. Then you can go ahead and paste that in there. And then pick a server type, home hosted. And then we can just type home hosted as the provider. And then just verify that you're not a robot and press generate. And then here we've got your key details. So you can just press copy. and go into your server.cfg that you've got open on your text editor, such as Visual Studio Code. And then if you go down to where it says, at the bottom it will say SV license key change me. So if you delete where it says change me, and then in speech marks, put your license key, which you've just copied, and save that. And then what we can do is we can edit some of the code in here. So script hook, for example, this allows clients to use their own Lambda menus. So basically, in layman's terms, mod menus, basically. So if you don't want to allow it, just leave it as 0. So you've got tags, so this is like, you know, tags for your server. If it's a roleplay, you can put roleplay, military tanks, for example. They're just example tanks, or you can leave it as default for now. Locale, so this is translations, basically. If you're English in the US, or Netherlands, Dutch, in Great Britain, for example, you can put these. Or you can just leave it as root AQ for now. And then your host name, so this is the server name. So I can put Alpha's Windows Vanilla Server. Project name, so this is basically just, it's very similar to a host name. You can just put Alpha's Server or something like that, you know. Project description, so this is the description that will show up in the FiveM server listing. I can just put a home hosted server by Alpha. So what we can do now is press Ctrl S to save it, and we can close this down. And then what we're going to need to go to next is go back to our FiveM folder in our local disk C, and in here we're going to do new text document. We're going to rename this to server starter.bat. Bat is a batch file, so you need to do .bat. You can name it whatever you want, call it server starter, start.bat, whatever you like. And then yes, once again we're changing the file name extension. We're going to go ahead and open this, or we're going to edit this, sorry. And this one we're going to edit in Notepad. Doesn't really matter what you edit it in. And what we're going to type in here is cd space /d space, and then we're going to the directory of the CFX server data folder. So as you can see at the top, it says list PC local disk FiveM CFX server data. You just press in the white area to the right of that, it will get the directory. So we can copy that and paste it into here, like so. And on the next line, we're going to paste it again, but then get rid of the final directory. So it will just be C FiveM FX server. I believe it's FXS, all capitals, and the rest of server .exe. So this, what this is going to do is it's getting this inside of here. So it's obviously FiveM FX server.exe, and what we're going to do is plus or space plus exec, which is execute, and then server.cfg. So we've got cd /d in the directory of the server data, then the directory of fx server.exe plus execute server.cfg, and then we can save that and we can run it, and this is basically running the server for us. And as you can see, it's the same console that we've seen before, except we've manually had to run it now on our own file instead of having TxAdmin run it for us. And as you can see on this one, we've got no web-based TxAdmin or anything like that. It's completely blank server. As you can see, it's started up the resources that we need to. So now we can actually go ahead and open FiveM and jump into the server. So once again, we can either press F8 and type connect localhost, or we can go ahead and press this button that shows up whenever you run your local hosted server, and that will automatically connect you to it. Here we are, we're in the completely blank server. As you can see in this one, if I do /tx, nothing happens, as there's no TxAdmin. This is literally the most blank you can get in a server, as of like a default creator of a server. You can still delete the other resources, like chat for example. You don't exactly need them. But I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you know what you're doing and you've got an actual good reason to do so. So yeah, that's how you get a Windows vanilla server. So the fourth and final guide is the Linux setup guide vanilla, which is identical to the one I just showed, the third guide, except it's the Linux counterpart. Unfortunately, I don't have a Linux computer or a computer running the Linux operating system, so I won't be able to go over this one in this video, unfortunately. But if you do need a Linux server but also, like me, have a Windows computer, I do recommend using the Zap-Hosting setup guide, the first one. As we showed on there earlier, you can run a server through Linux on there with just one click. You may be asking, why would I want to run a server on Linux when I've got when I've got Windows, and most people that play FiveM are also playing on Windows? The reason is because a Linux server generally has marginally better server performance, especially on larger servers, because Linux is slightly more optimized for running code basically than Windows, but it is only marginal. So it's up to you whether you want to use Linux or not. If you're using Zap-Hosting, I'd recommend it, because why not? It's, you know, it's extra performance for no extra hassle basically. But for example, if you're doing these two setups, then stick with Windows basically, and you'll be good to go. Lovely. So that is all 4 guides covered. Hopefully you've got a server by the end of this video. If you're wondering how to port forward your server, so if you've got any of these 3, if you've used any of these 3 guides, unfortunately no one else will be able to connect to your server until you port forward, which is an entirely different topic within itself. I do have an old tutorial which my good friend Joe made for me. I'll link that in the description if you do need to port forward. Otherwise, once again, I do recommend Zap-Hosting because all of that is done for you. It's just a very, very easy process to use Zap-Hosting. If you guys enjoyed, please hit the like. It definitely helps my videos reach more people like you who are looking for help programming in FiveM. And don't be afraid to ask any questions either in the comments, or you can also join my FiveM support Discord server, which will be linked at the top of the description. Anyway, that's it from me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.